Son of Orpheus is 1-1. Kongcakes is 0-2 right now. And
yep. Oh wow, looks like a big difference in stream delay. Let me just get this fixed here.
Son of Orpheus has a 3051. Kongcakes does not have one listed. Oh, yes, he does. Never mind. 3415.
Like. Right?
Yep, we're live.
All right. I do apologize that we are live and welcome to another round robin here in the Blaster Master Tournament. This is a match from Group C where we have Son of Orpheus taking on Kongcakes. As you did hear from our little bit of banter earlier, Son of Orpheus is 1-1 going into this match, whereas Kongcakes is 0-2. So based on the nature of this thing, it's going to be both players are going to need a win coming out of this to potentially progress in this tournament. So it's going to be a nice win or die situation for both of them. As we can see here, we are moving our way through Area 1. We're going to be making our way to the Mother Brain boss. But for those of you who may not recognize my voice, I am the Greenleaf. In fact, with me tonight is Scratch Dragon.
How you guys doing tonight?
And every now and then you may or may not hear the dulcet tones of the one, the only Feasel.
Why, hello.
All right, so that is what we have going on here. We will do our best to answer any questions you might have in the chat. If you do have them, please ask right away. So basically, we do want to sync some timers up here. So I have got Son going into the Mother Brain room right now. Okay. Okay, yeah. Okay,
5,
yeah.
46, 47, 48. Okay.
Okay, yeah.
I'm syncing up right now.
I am as well. And
there we go.
Synced. There we go. All right, so this first fight you see here, this is pretty easy. This is the Mother Brain pattern, or Mother Brain fight. The pattern you're looking for here is basically you want to pick a spot, normally on the right-hand side of the room or below it, and basically just sit there and spam your A button, which is your grenade. Hopefully you get a good pattern so you don't have to move. If you do that, that's great. We can move on. Otherwise, if Mother Brain decides she doesn't want to cooperate with you, then you're going to have to move around. It can cause a little bit of delay here in your time, a couple seconds here or there. Now, what you're going to be looking at here in Blaster Master is this game. In order to progress through, you have to get the upgrades from each of the bosses. The exception, we will make a note here in a minute. Meanwhile, the weapon you get here from the Mother Brain is the Hyper Beam, and that is the weapon that unlocks the trigger to allow us to get through that Guardian you just saw.
Sorry if I'm being a little silent. Just getting a couple last things set up here. I just need to get the chat up, and we will be good to hear, well, right, whatever informed commentary I have.
No, that is perfectly fine. So we are now making our way through Area 2. One thing I do want you guys to take note of is those pillars you see there. There are those Tetris-looking blocks on the bottom of those pillars. Those are going to come into play a bit later because we don't have the capability to destroy them right now. We will coming up very soon. That's going to play a huge part in movement throughout the rest of the game. But right now, we have to take the long way around because we have no way to get through the easy way.
Right.
We are now making... Yep.
Oh, sorry. But I just wanted to mention they're actually trying their best to jump around the corners of these ledges. If you clip the ledges, as you see, like Son and actually Kongcakes is doing, you actually lose a little bit of momentum. So the best you want to do is while you're jumping, you're not actually clipping the corners and maintaining your momentum. But they seem to be doing all right so far as they continue through Area 2.
Yep. The other big thing you're going to be seeing is being a Nintendo game, there's only so many sprites and stuff that the game can handle on screen. So a lot of the gunfire you see, and especially in later levels with missiles, a lot of it is less to get the enemies, kill the enemies for power-ups, and more to kill them because you're doing lag reduction. And a lot of the movement tech in this game is based around lag reduction strategies. So a lot of the times you see kill shots going on, you can see a lot of lag right over there on Kongcake's side of the screen That's why a lot of these shots are happening, is lag reduction. And lag can play a big part in this game, specifically with a boss glitch that can happen. Basically, if there's too much lag, the boss won't register a kill, and it gets to a state which is called the zombie state, which basically it looks like it's dying, it explodes like it's dying, but it doesn't die.
Right. So just as an example of how much lag reduction actually plays a part in this, I'm looking at their splits right now, and Kongcakes has about a 553 at the end of Area 2. SonOfOrpheus has it looks like a 544. The world record holder Scavenger actually has about a 530. So that's, and Area 2 is nothing but lag reduction. So that's how much good pathing, good shots, and well, good jump cornering it's very important through Area 2.
Yeah. So speaking of the end of Area 2 here, you just saw it over on Orpheus's side of the screen. Now you're seeing it on Kongcakes. You're going to see this strategy for 4 bosses in the game, although we technically only use it for 3 because we don't fight one of them. That is the grenade pause strategy. Basically, once the battle starts, if you are damaging the boss with a grenade and you pause the game, then the boss will continue to take damage, but it won't have a chance to damage you because, of course, the game is paused. We then use an audio cue, or sometimes a visual cue, depending on the person, to unpause the game once the boss is dead. Of course, the faster you unpause the game after the boss dies, the less time you use. That is a trick that we'll be using not just for the Area 2 boss, Crabulus, but it is something you'll see on the Area 4 boss, if you don't fight it in this run, plus the Area 6 boss, the Frozen Crabulus, and Area 7 Solar Fred. The way to know which bosses that will work on is very simple, and that's basically going to be which bosses have palette swaps.
Yep. And just as another note, the pause glitch is very, very powerful. There's nothing to say where you go, okay, I drop a grenade on the boss and pause it, and they take infinite damage. Unfortunately, the pause glitch also works on you. So if you're out of position when you do it and you're taking damage, you're taking infinite damage as well. But here we go into Area 3. And this is another one of those lag reduction areas. As you see, the little gumball machines, as we call them, tend to drop out the little metal orbs. Those cause tons of lag. So we want to either kill them or avoid them as much as humanly possible.
Yeah, the gumballs are pain. You see Orpheus right there using missiles to take out some of them. Kongcakes in that same room. This is a tricky room to do right. Not really a lot of uses of the missiles that are completely required, but for speed purposes, you really do have to use the missiles in these vertical rooms, because those gumball machines and the gumballs they drop do a lot of damage to you. You can't just tank all the hits and go through. You really need to missile those.
That raises a good question, Fees. I've noticed that you don't actually have as many invulnerability. Thank you. Frames when the gumballs are out. So if they drop 3 gumballs on you, you're taking a boatload of damage.
Well, your invulnerability in this game is really short anyway, compared to a lot of platformers. So you'll take a hit about every second, maybe less. And it's you can get multiple hits you get hit multiple times by one of those gumball drops if you're not careful.
And each one does roughly 2 damage.
Yeah, I think it's 2 per hit.
Yeah, so if you're lucky and you're at exactly 2 damage like Kongcakes is right now, you may get hit by one and enter what we call the zombie state. Because your life actually rounds down.
Well,
or at least on the visual bar it rounds down.
Yeah, it's not even a zombie. There is an actual zombie mode that you can get into with your tank, but it's just that you can appear to have 0 health when really you have somewhere between 0 and 1, but it shows 0 on your meter. So yeah, you always have to be aware of where your sub box health is as a runner. Just got to be aware of what enemies do half a box of damage and which ones do full, so you just know where you are. You can also get into a zombie tank state, like your tank is actually killed and you can't move normally, but you can still sort of keep going as long as you continue to jump. I've actually seen people manage to make their way through a room, in a whole room like that, and get out with Jason and go to trigger a checkpoint at the other end of the room and then die, just so they don't have to repeat the room. I
mean, if you can do it, you can do it. You'll lose a significant amount of time if you die at the end of the room, like where Kongcakes is now, and have to go all the way to the beginning.
That's the worst.
But yep. But looking at Kongcakes now, he's actually or not Kongcakes, excuse me, Son. He is going to show us exactly what it is to have the just under 1 life. So he manages to get through the room, has under 1 life, and takes 1 hit from this guy and takes a death.
Yeah, that gray guy does less than a box of health, so you actually have to get here with 0 on your meter, like in order to be able to die in just 1 hit from him, else you're wasting time getting hit multiple times.
Absolutely, and the reason that we are taking the death here is because in order to get to Area 4, which is the next one, obviously logically the next place to go, that's actually back at the very beginning of where we started in Area 1. So the fastest way for us to get back there, instead of backtracking the whole way, is just to take several deaths and warp that way. Meanwhile, the boss you see SonOfOrpheus fighting right now and Kongcakes moving into, this is the photophage boss. Instead of being one giant boss, it's a bunch of little blocks here. And if you take too much time to destroy one, it will basically lock itself up against the side of the screen, turn color, and another one will appear. It can get pretty crazy in there if you let multiple ones of these go, and as you can see, Kongcakes did let one of them go to sleep, so that is what I was talking about. Now, the reason we're going to be backtracking to Area 1 here after all of these death abuses is because the item we get from Area 3 boss here, Photophage, is the hover engine. That's basically going to allow us to make our way all the way back to Area 1 and climb up the tree right behind where we spawn. The problem with this is because we're taking all of these deaths and game overing, we have no hover fuel. So before we do that, we have to go into the biggest RNG portion of the game. That's going to be the hover farm. So we're going to see that coming up momentarily.
So, and a minor time saver, he jumps out of the tank before entering Area 1, so when he respawns, all he has to do is jump off the cliff to end poor Jason's life. Or Kane. It's Kane in this one, isn't it?
Yes.
Correct. And the planet he is on is Sophia. Oh. Looks like Son finally got his 3 hover. It's random. Well,
yeah.
About average.
It was about an average farm, yep.
But better than normal, but not the best. Ideally, what you want is you want to see 3 flyers, take 3 shots, see 3 hover. Right.
Yeah.
And
And just to point out, you may have seen us do a little trick, and you're seeing SonOfOrpheus do it again here. This is the trick that you're going to be seeing several times throughout the run. This is a door wrap trick. The basic way to describe it is we are entering a door and turning around at basically the exact same time you're entering the door. What that does, it fools the game into thinking you're still entering the door, and you enter it in the wrong direction. And what that basically does is it tricks the game to basically move, in addition to... Yeah, exactly. So basically, you enter it and you come out the other side. Oops, not there. But after you do that,
bit of trouble with it. Yeah, I had trouble with this first door wrap when I first started learning the game as well. And what he does there is he enters the area, and then it automatically places him back in the correct sprite, so he can actually enter area. What area are we in? 5? There we go. You go through the games so fast, sometimes you forget what area you're actually in.
Nope. The other thing that this door wrap trick also does is it offsets your tiles by 1 to the left every time. So that's why you can see we are able to cross through that block barrier there that Kongcakes just crossed through. Now, the two ways to get out of that, well, dying is obviously one of them, but entering the door, like you saw between Area 4 and 5, is another way to get rid of that glitch. And also pausing the game will also get rid of that glitch. So that's basically how we do that. And we use that trick here in Area 4 and Area 5. You also have the potential to see in Area 7 because there's a couple of skips in Area 7 that require the door wrap glitch that can be used to save quite a bit of time. Now, we're not getting there quite yet, but we are. Diesel mentioned we're using the Japanese version for a couple of reasons. And coming up here is one of the big ones. This boss coming up normally goes by the name of Hardshell, but thanks to Splits and Scavenger one time calling this boss Zoidberg, this now has the affectionate nickname of Zoidberg. So we're going to call him Zoidberg. But basically, this boss is a real pain. It's got one weak spot here. However, if you can manage to pause the game in the Japanese version on the frame where the game goes dark, as you see SonOfOrpheus doing right now, you can glitch the game out to get this little section here. And basically, as long as you keep firing your grenades at that little Game Boy thing on the wall, you are effectively killing Hardshell. The reason we're playing this on the Japanese version is because it is an 8-frame window to do that, and you can pause buffer. On the US version, it's a 1-frame window, and you can't.
That's right, yeah. It's much harder to do on the North American version, which is one of the reasons why we're using it here in the Japanese version. We'll see Kongcakes take an intentional death here. That's usually what most people do, but he still has a life left over because he didn't do that death in the hover farm.
Right. He's mentioned it before. He's not very comfortable going through Area 5. So I can understand that he would want to preserve the extra life because if you do mess up... Yeah, if you do mess up on...
Sorry to interrupt you. I just want to make sure I explain what's happening as he does this here. Oh, he's trying to clean up these things because he doesn't want them to kill him. So what he's doing, he's walking down and up because he wants to use that to help it with his timing. He needs to pause it just as the screen is about to fade out. He's waiting for it. There, as long as you pause while the screen's fading out, it'll actually let you get through that door. And now he has to get over here to the left really quickly. If you dilly-dally in this room a little bit, you actually get into a situation where the boss starts to activate before you reached him, and there's this weird conveyor belt effect that pushes you away from him. And that's why he cleared all those enemies out ahead of time, so that he wouldn't have that happen to him after the boss spawns.
Right. So, just finishing the thought on why Kongcakes didn't take the intentional death, he is actually kind of afraid, or at least this is what I remember him mentioning, that he might mess up the glitch. If you mess up the glitch, you have to fight the boss. As weird as it sounds, this boss is exceptionally hard. Considering that we typically don't have problems with any of the bosses in this game in a speedrun environment. So, if you mess up and you actually have to fight the boss, which no one ever really wants to do,
right,
he wants to make sure he has the extra life for the buffer.
Yeah, nobody really practices.
Into Area 6.
Nope.
Well, not since we started using the Japanese version. SonOfOrpheus doing the leap of faith the safe-ish way.
Yep. That area you just saw Orpheus in, you heard Scratch Dragon mention the leap of faith. Basically, if you go underneath that, you have a very short amount of time to hit your jump button before you fall off the edge. If you hit it too soon, you won't have enough distance to clear that jump. If you hit it too late, you're going to fall off. And obviously, you also have to time it so that you don't bonk your head on that ceiling right above you to make that jump. The safe way is just to take the path that you saw SonOfOrpheus take, which is going over the top. It doesn't say it. You lose a couple of seconds, but it's infinitely safe. Speaking of trouble, I'm having all kinds of trouble climbing up this vertical block room here. This room, and all the races I've done here this tournament, that room that SonOfOrpheus was just in has claimed so much time because people keep bonking their heads on the ice physics.
Yeah, and there's spikes everywhere too, and the spikes will do a lot of damage to you, and you can get in some situations where you actually can't get out of them without taking damage from spikes.
Yeah. Whereas in Area 1, 2, and 3, our main focus is actually lag reduction. In Area 6, movement is more of a focus. While lag reduction is still important, no one will argue that lag reduction isn't important in Area 6. Your movement is very, very key to saving a lot of time.
Here we got another... Oh, he's doing the pause method on these ice blocks. Every time you pause and unpause, it will reset all of the breakable blocks on the screen. And he used that to jump in the air, pause and unpause, and create a little platform for himself so that he could go up the rest of the way. That's a pretty clever strat for doing it. I like the way we're doing it now.
And the other thing about a strat like that is that's one of those speedrunning strats that even if you're not speedrunning the game, you're just playing it casually, that you could use. You're like, hey, I found this little trick. It's it's quick, it's easy, it doesn't take any skill to do. Oh, boom! Look at this.
Oh,
yeah, I saw that too. Oh wow!
If he gets hit,
okay, he got some health.
Oh, he got the health.
Cool. These worms could be a little bit of problems. Nope, he's safe. All right. Crisis averted.
Yep. So now you see in this overhead area here in Area 6, you've seen Son take 2 intentional deaths. So he is going into this final of the boss fight here in Area 6 with basically 3 health and no extra lives to buffer. So if he messes up the pause glitch here, which we have seen happen, things could get really bad. This basically, however, is a palette swap of the boss you saw in Area 2. That was Crabulus. This is Frozen Crabulus, or as Fiesel likes to call them, Mr. and Mrs. Grabby.
That's right. And it looks like we have a zombie. He's got to just stay out of his way.
Got a zombie.
Stay out of his way.
Oh, wait. Was he not dead?
No, he wasn't. He was dead. It was definitely zombieing, I think.
Okay.
Yep.
I saw a couple of extra grenades hit him, and it looked like he flashed a couple extra times. It was kind of confusing.
Right. So what happens there is sometimes just because of lag, the game will skip the trigger for that boss being dead, and it will continue to move around while it's exploding as if it was still alive. And there's a couple ways to deal with it. You can either throw more grenades at it, but it's not that you're damaging it, it's more that you're just creating lag that sort of undoes the situation. You can also pause and unpause a bunch of times, spam the pause button, that sometimes will help. It's pretty silly.
It really is.
So
as you can
just
see
go
here. Oops, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to explain here. Now, Son is taking some intentional deaths, and he's going back to Area 4. And he's going to take another intentional death here in Area 4 because we don't actually have the key to get through the door we screen wrap through. So he's going to take the intentional death, bada bing, bada boom, Area 4 beginning, and back into Area 1.
Which brings up the one big point about this game. I hope you like the areas you have previously seen, because there's going to be a lot of that. As you saw, after we went to Area 3, we had to go all the way back through Area 1 to get to Area 4. Then we went through Areas 4, 5, and 6. And hey, look, now we have to go back through Area 1 again to get to Area 7. Oh yeah, and once we get through Area 7, we're going to have to go back through Area 3 again to get to Area 8. So I hope you like backtracking, because there's a lot of it here.
Right. And just to address one thing in the chat, sorry to interrupt, but we will... If we manage to see a Shining Dragoon, as it was stated in the chat, we will explain it.
If we see it, I don't think anyone's going to do it in this race, but we may. Well, maybe someone will. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, I mean, weirder things have happened in this race. I mean, Scav was on world record pace, and it's been an interesting tournament so far, to be honest.
There's been a lot of people who almost PB'd.
Yep.
Yeah,
Infested Rich was the one that PB'd, actually.
Yeah, someone actually did. And a couple people.
Yeah, it was a sub 31 with Infested Rich.
I do want to point out real quick, you may have seen it in the backtracking through Area 1 over on Sun's screen. You'll probably see it over on Kongcakes' screen. The item upgrade we got for defeating Frozen Fragulous in Area 6 is the Wall 1 upgrade. And what that does, that allows the tank to walk on walls. So that is how we're going to be getting our way to Area 7, is we have to climb up a wall to get there. So that's what we're going to be doing.
Just for specification, there is a Wall 2 upgrade. The Wall 1 lets us climb vertical walls.
Right. And Wall 2 will let us do ceilings.
Yep.
So here's the giant wall that you need Wall 1 in order to get up. This is the sequence enforcing part of the game right here. He did not grab the flashing hover, so he's at 0 hover right now, Orpheus is, so he can't cut the corner by using a little bit of hover there, like some people normally would.
So, unless he's taking us for an Oki, which has been done before in this tournament, he should be doing both of Area 7 skips. Once we get there, we will... well, he's already there, so we can go ahead and explain it. So, going back to the wall wrap glitch... Oh, wait, no.
Faking us out. Not going for the first skip.
I've been faked out.
Yep.
We'll see it at some point.
It's happened again.
I bet. We'll see at least one of the skips here in Area 7. There's 2 skips that these guys can use. There's one that goes right from the beginning of this level to like 60% of the way through, and another one that goes from there all the way up to the boss dungeon. So you can actually skip the entirety of this if you do both skips.
But Sun might be actually paying attention to Kong's stream and saying, okay, I don't really want to do the first Area 7 skip because the first Area 7 skip can be quite dangerous, and there are potentials for soft locking. So
Right. Kong
he
could
might
do
just
it.
say,
Or do you think
I
he
don't know
won't?
if I've seen him actually attempt it. So we will see. He did grab the hover though.
That's true. Yeah, usually if the person grabs the flashing hover, they're not going to do the first part of the skip. You see him using a little bit of it there just to cut that corner.
As a matter of fact, he managed to pick up an extra hover. That's
Oh yeah, he did.
that's nice.
There's some things you can do with an extra hover. If you're going all the way through Area 7 and not doing any of the skips, you can make a use out of an extra hover or even two to save time. And he is right there. He is not going to go and do the Area 7 skip, or at least the first part of it.
So we're at least. I know Son is at least gonna go for the second one. If he doesn't, then yeah, he's taking the leisurely drive is what he's doing. A Sunday drive through Area 7.
He doesn't
that's not
need to,
necessarily-
technically.
Yep. Exactly what I was going to bring up, because at this point, those skips save a minute, really. And we are getting a second skip
Yes.
coming up here.
Yeah, the first
Alright,
skip
so-
saves about a minute at best,
Yep.
and the second one is like 45 seconds at best.
And
So he's going for the 3 wrap. So the difference between what I said was the 3 wrap and the 4 wrap is the amount of times you screen wrap the door to achieve this trick. The 4 wrap is debatably easier
You
to
got
actually complete the trick.
Yeah, he got it there. So
Very
yeah,
good.
that we were using that screen wrapping thing to wrap the screen so many times that we can actually cut through a wall, and that lets us advance to the very end of the level here. And he had to take that death to get his health back to do these lava skips.
Yep, and the lava skips are when you are taking damage, you have invulnerability frames. And while you have the invulnerability, I'll learn to speak one day. While you have these iframes, you can actually walk over the lava for a brief amount of time without actually just falling in.
Yeah, it's interesting that the lava isn't really implemented like a pit. It's just implemented like an enemy that does a lot of damage to you, you know? So your iframes let you just go right through it. Alright, Frog Paws here. He's going to jump 4 times. We're staying at the top of the screen just to be in the right spot to be able to drop that grenade on his mouth. He's listening for an audio cue to know when to stop. And he's got it.
All right.
Meanwhile, over on the other
he's-
side, you see Kongcakes also setting up for this first skip. Now, one thing you do want to be made aware of in these skips here in Area 7 is, if you mess
I'm
it up
screwed.
on the screen wrapping portion, you have the potential to soft lock you.
No. Ooh, he could actually
Yeah.
save this if he holds right.
There you go.
There we go. Okay, managed to save it. All right.
Good call.
So he's gonna jump in the tank, and he's just gonna
And
continue on. All
He's
right,
gonna
there we
go
go.
through. It's the best call here.
That was smart thinking. So what happened there is the spot where Jason entered the room is kind of glitched out. Because of the way we're doing these screen wraps, the game actually thinks that he's supposed to respawn from that door, but except that door was moved over because of the screen wrap, so it actually puts him at a fatal height where he respawns.
Right. And fatal height is anything about a block higher than Jason can jump. Or Kane, excuse me, Japanese version. We're gonna remember that it's Kane. All right. And now we're gonna go through some. Oh, excuse me, sorry.
I said, are you able to remember it's Kane?
As much as you remember that I'm Gilroy.
Fair enough.
Now we see some more backtracking through Area 2, and he's going to go over to Area 3 after this, because backtracking is the theme of the game. And once we go through Area 3, we will be able to get to the final area of the game, which is Area 8, now that we have the Wall 1 and 2 upgrades.
Now, speaking of Area 8, I do want to point out that initially in this game's development, the final boss gauntlet wasn't actually a final boss gauntlet. It was actually supposed to be split up into 2 sections. So the first boss that we fight in Area 8, the Plutonium Lord, or Plutonium Boss, excuse me, was actually supposed to be fought about midway through Area 8. And then the final boss of the game was supposed to be the Underworld Lord. Now, the problem with this is that later on in development, they decided that, no, let's just put them both at the end. Well, the problem with this is the Plutonium Boss had an upgrade with him. Unfortunately, they kept the level design the same and never implemented the upgrade, so basically here in Area 8, you're supposed to get an upgrade that's called the Spike Upgrade, which is basically supposed to give you immunity to spike damage, which is all great. It's great, except for the fact that, well, they never give it to you, and they still kept the area the same way, so you're going to see us moving through a lot of spikes, You're going to see a lot of spikes in general in the area because they redesigned the bosses, but never redesigned the area to go with it.
Correct. And as you see on Sun's screen, he's actually trying to pick up a lot of life because now he doesn't have any hover to do.
That right there.
Yep, there it is. I'm questioning if his life is enough to get
good.
through. Oh, very nice.
He's at less than a box of health, but he could have had a really slow death there. Now he takes a nice quick death from these caterpillars.
Yeah, that's a smart thing to do there because this is what we call the Hellway. This room has claimed many runs from every runner of this game. It's very precise jumps, as you see, and all these spikes do 2 damage, and these little worms are so very annoying. So, yep, he manages to get through relatively okay there.
The hardest part about those worms is the fact that once they get on the ground, you can't actually shoot them with Sophia, which is the name of the tank, or cannon, because their cannon fires above where they are. So that's what makes them so damn difficult.
And on top of all of that, we go back to the major theme of the game, which is lag reduction. Once a lot of the worms start hitting the screen, all your jumping, everything goes completely out of whack.
Yeah, it becomes really difficult to play with the lag. I mean, you sort of get used to the lag as a Blaster Master runner just because lag is such a prominent thing that you live with in this game, but when it gets out of hand in a room like that, it really messes with your jumps.
So, Sun is going through the end of Area 8 while Kong is just about to enter Area 8 here. So, barring any real fiascos, you know what? I'm a commentator. I'm not gonna go ahead and curse Sun that way.
I have no problem saying it here. So the last 2 bosses here, they're going to be a couple of different strategies we're going to implement. They're both going to be variations over on the grenade pause strategy. And over on Kongcakes' side, real quick, I do want to address he did just pick up a hover, which is going to make the spike pit a lot easier for him because he can hover right over it. Meanwhile, back over on Sun's side of the screen, he is doing a variation of the grenade pause stroke, where basically he is hitting the A button to fire a grenade, and then pausing and unpausing rhythmically here. Basically, it's a situation where you go A pause, pause, A pause, pause. Basically, what that does is it still keeps the damage going, but at the same time, it makes it so the block patterns you see there aren't going to necessarily hit you all the way. Now, this second strategy you see here over on SonOfOrpheus' side is a way to get the Underworld Lord here to not hit you. If you move basically all the way to the right, as you can see, the whip isn't hitting you at all. So basically, you can just sit there and spam your grenade button, and you're not going to get hit by the whip at all. Now, if you're a little bit lower, or if you're right here, you do have to keep in mind about the feet, but a little bit lower, he's not necessarily going to step on you, but you have to watch out for that. That was a very, very good kill there on the Underworld Lord. Didn't take a whole lot of damage. So that's a fairly solid run, especially in a race setting, especially not doing both skips. It's a very solid run there over on SonOfOrpheus' side. Meanwhile, we are still heading through the Area 8 section on Kongcakes' side. You see a little bit of lag here, but again, just pointing that out. So we do want to see how Kongcakes is going to handle the final 2 bosses here, because, like I said, that implementation of the variations on the grenade pause strategy is what we're going to see. Alright, so continuing to make our way through Area 8 here. Hopefully we can get through without too much of a big deal. And we are in our last section of the tank here. So now it's just a matter of getting through here without accidentally falling on spikes, which we managed to do just fine. And now we are in the last overhead area of the game. So we are now going to see how Kongcakes fights the Plutonium boss and the Underworld Lord.
So Kong is going to implement the same pause grenade strategy, which coincidentally, if you don't manage to get the Area 5 glitch on the boss, this is the same type of strategy that you would use. Fortunately for us, this boss doesn't move from left to right like Hard Shell does. So that was a very clean boss kill for Kong, and he's going to go with the flashing pants strategy, my favorite strategy.
Yeah, basically, the Underworld Lord has been a very, very bad boy, so we're going to make him go in the corner and think about what he's done.
Yep. So, a little explanation about that. While he is in his quote-unquote iframes, or while he's taking damage, he cannot actually damage you with his body. So, mash the button, do a lot of grenade damage. You take no damage. He takes all the damage, and his pants explode.
And there we go. Well, that's both players finishing not too far apart from each other there. Just about 2 minutes.
About 2 minutes, yeah.
Yep. That's actually still a very decent run, considering that he didn't actually go for both Area 7 skips. So, nothing to be ashamed of. He just needs to clean it up a little bit, and we will see him in race number 2. Greenleaf, did we ever explain what the Dragoon was?
I don't believe we did, because I don't believe we saw it.
Do we want to save that?
I say we can save it, and that's something we can definitely discuss in the next race, because we are going to have another 30 minutes to discuss, and we have talked about quite a bit of the things already. Although, speaking of things I want to discuss, I do want to point out that if there is anything that, if Blaster Master is something you like, or if all these speedruns is something you like to see, we here at Speed Gaming provide several different opportunities for you to enjoy speed gaming races or speedrun races in general, and not just here. So if you go ahead and take a look at this events page right over there at snessuperstars.org/events, that will send you to a list of everything that we have going on, not just here on Speed Gaming, but a lot of things throughout Twitch. There's a Chrono Trigger tournament, there's the Mega Man X tournament that started up this week, there's Super Metroid, there's Ninja Gaiden 2 is starting up. I know RPG Limit Break is coming up pretty soon. So all of those things you can see right there at the snessuperstars.org/events.
Yep. There's a game for everyone, and every game is worth enjoying. All the Link to the Past races have been exceptional. I've caught a little bit of the Chrono Trigger races. For Chrono Trigger is actually quite a long game, and I mean, if you want to watch it, you can begin watching it and learning it in that small interval.
Yep, and the Chrono Trigger race, that's actually just a RTA to get to the Magus boss fight and defeat that. So that's actually not too far into the game.
Yep, about an hour, is it?
I think so. It's about an hour and a half or so, give or take. It's not too far into the game.
Yeah, they based the time on the same for the Final Fantasy IV Paladin RTA, which was in Final Fantasy IV. You get at the one point of the game you turn into a paladin, and that's where the RTA ended. I don't remember who won that, but it was a very fun watch. So
I'd like to
see Kongcakes here.
Yeah, just get ready for his next race. We haven't actually pointed out this is a best 2 out of 3 yet, so we're not finished. There's going to be up to 3 races. Well, if SonOfOrpheus wins the next one, then there's only going to be 2 races. Mm-hmm. And if Kongcakes wins the next one, then we'll have to play the third. So we'll see how it goes.
Mm-hmm. And I do want to point out, thank you to Mr. Pup there in the chat for bringing up the brackets and the match listings there for the Blaster Master tournament. The first link you see there, challenge.com/blastermaster, will bring you to the brackets and the seating for this round-robin style tournament. And the second link there, that is a link to a Google Doc spreadsheet, which will have the schedule of all the races, who's racing who, what time it is, and where it's going to be broadcast.
Just as another note, I was noticing on Kongcakes splits, he actually gold split the Wall 1 upgrade and the final upgrade. Or the final, not the final upgrade, the final section of the game. So, yeah, I believe he has a legitimate chance at this.
Mm-hmm. I mean, anything can happen, especially when the skips are involved, because as we mentioned, one of the things that those skips entail is a soft block if you mess it up. Now, because the way a soft block works is basically, if you don't know what it is, a soft block is when you have control of your character but can't make any progress in the game. In order to fix that, you actually have to reset. Because it's a no reset category, the way it's going to work for a tournament race here is you have to make your way all the way back to the room where you soft locked in without making any further progression in the game before you can continue. And something like that can be a swing here in a race. And speaking of that, we are underway here in race number 2 of potentially 3 here in this Blaster Master tournament.
I believe my timers are a little off, so let's go ahead and fix that.
Okay.
So as we mentioned, the same things are going to apply that we talked about in the first race. The big thing again being the lag reduction strats. So that's what you're going to see a lot of. Thank you, Nian. This first area, it's basically about a 2-minute area, give or take. Most runners are going to get out of here anywhere between, the world record runs about a 154 leaving, getting the item here from Mother Brain. Most people are between 156 and 202, 204. So it's a fairly quick first area in the game. From a casual point, even from a casual side of things, it's basically in, out, go. So it's still a fairly quick first area, even as most game standards go.
Yep, the most that you want to do is lag reduction, lag reduction, lag reduction. Not too much really to speak about unless you're Orpheus and end up taking that little corner too soon. There it is, corner. That's the word I'm looking for.
No.
Yep, I'm good. I just synced it up with I synced it up with Kongcakes because it was Suns that went down. So okay, and here we are at Mother Brain again.
Good.
It
fight
looks
for
like
Orpheus.
Orpheus got it. Yep.
It was a really good pattern that Orpheus got there. Kongcakes had a bit of a rough one, but still managing to get out and right around 201, 202, like I said. So do want to bring up another thing here. We've been mentioning the word lag and lag reduction. There is a potential lock that can happen coming up here. If you remember that Guardian statue that we saw in the first game, or the first race, there is a potential that if there's too much going on screen and too much lag, that the game will miss the trigger. It will still destroy the Guardian, but it won't allow the wall to go through. So there is a potential to soft block coming up right here. And nope, Son of Orpheus going through, not a problem. Let's see on Kongcakes side of things. Both of them getting through, not a problem. I do bring it up, though, because we have had that happen before.
Yes, it happened to me. It was great. I was so confused. But as we enter Area 2, once again, what we want to do here is we want to kill as many enemies as we can off the screen and as fast as possible to reduce lag.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that from a speedrunning perspective that I actually like about this game is from the look of things. And when you watch a lot of these games run, something like A Link to the Past or a lot of these other games, a lot of it is execution, but at the same time there are some fairly big glitches that you see. But when looking at a game like this, for the most part, it's all about execution for the most part, and not about getting these frame perfect glitches or these pixel perfect glitches and all that. And to me, that makes this game, even though as hard as it is, it makes it one of the more quote-unquote accessible games from a speedrunning side of things, because everybody who's played games for the most part, you've played a Mario, you've played a platform-style game, so everybody knows how to jump and to avoid things. Apparently Son of Orpheus doesn't, because he just jumped into some lava, but most people understand how to jump and avoid things.
He wanted to take a bath. You got to clean the tank every now and then.
True, but that's what to me makes this game very accessible, is there aren't a lot of big crazy tricks you have to learn. Yeah, you have this door wrap, but that's pretty easy because it's not a frame perfect thing. It's a go in, go out. And the only one you have to do it for, and that's only in this category really, is in Area 4. If you're doing a no death warp, no reset warps run, you're going to go through the whole game and play it, and for the most part, there's nothing crazy you have to do. It's all about execution.
I believe the no reset warps has one door wrap in it, and that's the Area 4 door wrap. Because once you get the key, you open the door from one side, you door wrap, and then open the door from the other side, so you don't actually have to do the entire climb to the leap of faith to the poor little ladder that you have to land on.
Right. But that's basically one of the things where if that's the only trick you have to learn, it's from a speedrunning perspective a very, very accessible game, because I know a lot of people who I've spoken to love watching things like, I'm going to use Super Mario 3 as my example here, and basically 7-1, if you've never seen the 7-1 skip, it's amazing. But a lot of people who I'd love to speedrun this game, wait, I have to do that, and seeing things like that make it very, it tends to make people very nervous about speedrunning. But when you see a game like a Blaster Master where there's nothing crazy you see going on, for the most part, it makes it feel very accessible to people. And when you're trying to expand a community, like all of the speed games are trying to expand the communities, having a category or two or a game in general that's very, very accessible or feels very accessible is a great, great tool to have.
Right. Not to cut you off, but it looks like Son took a intentional death, if anyone's wondering. He took an intentional death in Area 2. You could take your death there. It saves a little bit of time. Not a lot, but he is going to take the death there because he might have felt like he was short on life with the tank coming through Area 2, so he wants to refill on life so he doesn't take an unintentional death on the way through Area 3 to the photophage boss.
Yep. Speaking of that, both of them got very, very smooth kills there on Cradulus, and they're basically neck and neck here. A couple of seconds between runners, especially at this point in the game, isn't anything. Heck, the way the Area 7 skips work, 45 seconds between runners isn't a big thing. I do want to point out while we're making our way towards Area 3 that if you are new to speedrunning in general, you are going to hear us refer to time, gaining time and losing time, and you're going to hear us refer to that thing as like, oh, as a second or two has the potential to be a quote-unquote huge time loss or a huge time save. It's one of the things you have to get used to, because when you get to the high level of competition that we're seeing here and the high level of skill that you're seeing these runners play with, is literally a second or two is a huge loss or gain for people of this skill level. So it may take a little getting used to for me, like, oh my god, it was a half a second, that's a huge time saver, a huge time loss. It's one of those things where it takes a little getting used to, but once you realize it, then you're like, oh, I get it now. It still sounds weird. Even every time I say it, it sounds weird. But I do just want to point that out.
Well, I like to refer to it as referring would be the word. I would like to refer to it as track. If you're half a second behind the person in front of you, that's a lot of time. So actually, if you think about it that way, it actually makes a lot of sense. Ooh,
SonOfOrpheus missing the jump here. Yeah. And that's what we were talking about when it comes to the platforming side of things. There wasn't really anything technical on it. However, Kong giving it that lead right back by missing the missile shot there in this vertical climb room. So this is what we're talking about. We're a second or two behind. Anything can happen. And the lead can shift 3 or 4 times just in the span of 2 or 3 rooms because of minor unoptimized movement or inopportune missile shots or just in general, anything like that.
Right. So there's actually 2 ways of doing that room. There's the quick way, which is you're shooting your missiles as you jump. And then as you saw, as Kongcakes had to abandon that strat, there is the double jump strategy where you shoot missiles as you're coming around and then you jump up afterwards. So looks like we're going to get to one of the longer rooms in Area 3. A little bit of lag reduction here.
Got a despawn from Orpheus screen.
Yep, did take a look at that.
Was that a despawn or did he kill it?
Oh, it did. Oh, I think it may have despawned when the second dropper opened up.
Yeah, it looked like a despawn.
Maybe.
Okay, it sometimes it gets a little confusing what's actually the despawn and what they're actually killing.
Right.
But they get through that room pretty safely. And as you see here in Kong's stream,
all kinds
he
of lag.
Didn't manage to kill one of the gumball machines, and he let out all the gumballs. And as he was going through the door, it slowed him down significantly. Which I don't think we actually covered the door pausing.
No, we have not. So as you may have seen here, every time they're entering a door, a side transition door here, you're going to see them pausing. Now, there are several reasons for that. The main one is, well, it saves time. It's, 20 frames here or there, but that adds up over the course of the run. The reason that works is because the way door transitions work in this game is there's a scrolling door transition. So by pausing it, you force everything to sort of load all at once and not get to scroll. The other reason we do that is because enemies start their movement patterns as soon as they're loaded on screen. It could even be before we see them, but by scrolling that way, they'll get loaded on screen faster. By pausing and unpausing, everything sort of appears at once. So by doing that, we can actually catch enemies earlier in their movement cycle, which can actually make them easier to kill.
You got that right, Mon.
And now we are making our way through Area 3. Now, do keep in mind that Orpheus has already taken a death, so he only has one left he has to take here to set himself up for his death warps back to Area 1. So he is, however, coming in with a full set of life here, so I don't know if he's actually going to take it right here.
I don't think so. I don't think he feels really comfortable. Yeah, he's not really comfortable going in the photophage with just one life. He might have seen me and Fizo's race.
Yeah, he had to really go out of his way to not to not take damage there too. He had to do that room so slowly just because he was so low on health, or he didn't want to be low on health coming into the boss.
Do want to point out real quick that the boss photophage does translate into light eater.
Pretty neat.
In case anyone was wondering.
And Son having a beautiful fight.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So, really, the beginning of the fight, there's a couple of ways of starting off with it, but as you go through the fight, you're gonna typically do the same thing as long as you know where all the boxes or square dances, Fiesel calls it, as where they're spawning. Kong having a little bit of issues with it, but he cleans it up pretty nicely. And now we get to the Death Warps.
Yeah, I was a little bit worried about his health there. That was the main concern, because that boss, once it gets out of hand, can really do some damage to you.
Right. So, just to reiterate what the Death Warps is, you have 3 lives. You get no more, and the only way you lose them is by dying. Once you die in an area, it will take you back to the beginning of the area once you continue. One of the major differences between the American and the Japanese version is, in the American version, you only have a certain amount of continues. In the Japanese version, you have an unlimited amount of continues. These weren't tricks that we used before until we started using the Japanese versions. So, yeah, where was it? It was, you would die at the end of Area 3, and then you would backtrack all the way to Area 1 without taking any additional deaths, as you see Orpheus going through now. And now he's getting back to the hover farm.
Ooh, nice early. Wow, first 2 shots, 2 hovers. That's really good there. Wow, that's a near perfect hover farm for Orpheus right there. Are you kidding me right now?
I want to point out, if he had shot the first one, it would have been a perfect hover farm, because it's always the one you missed that has one of the extra hovers.
Oh, always. But either way, whether you're on a PB run or you're on a race run or whatever, you can't be mad about that hover farm. That hover farm is glorious.
Yep.
And on the other side of the spectrum, Kongcakes is having all kinds of trouble with his hover farm.
He's in an awkward spot. I don't know if this is the best spot to stand in where he was there, because those ledges on the sides really block your shots, and you can't get the ones that are far away from you.
Right. You want to be on that lower platform, because they don't spawn much lower than that, and you can actually shoot every enemy that comes through. And he's going to backtrack. He's going to opt not to take the Death Warp back to the beginning of Area 1 again.
Meanwhile, Orpheus gets the key wrap perfectly.
Yep. So a little trick with that is, once you jump out of the tank, if you can wiggle it and get it on the first try to get the door wrap. Now, he's going to continue with the water door wraps, which is a little bit easier, because all you have to do is float down, hold left, and boom, you've wrapped through the door.
Yep. The other thing I do want to point out real quick, because I didn't have a chance to address it last time, Area 5 here does have, in my opinion, the best music in the game. I'm not going to tell you you're wrong if you don't agree with me, but you're wrong if you don't agree with me.
Well, like the song says, if it's wrong, then I never want to be right. However, I will agree it has good music. It really does. I just think Area 6 and 7 have better music.
That's
well,
fine,
maybe not
right?
Area 6. Maybe not Area 6.
Your opinion is entitled to be wrong. I'm not going to...
Listen, do you need to see me in Super Mario Bros. 3, buddy?
That's what it's going to take, bro.
Well,
meanwhile, Kongcakes getting the Area 5 wrap quite efficiently there and making its way down. Do want to point out, actually, that Area 5 actually is... I'm not sure if it's intended, or actually it is intended, because of this area you see Kongcakes going in right now. Going into Area 5 with the tank is actually very difficult to start with, because the tank maneuvers horribly underwater. Not to mention the fact that area I mentioned Kongcakes going into, you can't actually access it with the tank. You have to actually swim through as Jason. This area is intended for you to do that. You can get through there after, once you get the hover engine of the water engine upgrade, the swimming engine, there you go, after defeating Hardshell. But before then, you can't do it. So this area is actually intended for you to go through swimming as Jason, or Kane, depending on which game you're playing.
It looks like Orpheus isn't opting to take the extra death at the beginning of this, or at the end of this area, rather. So he is going to have an extra life attempting the hard shell glitch.
I guess he's just looking at how far ahead he is and deciding he wants the cushion of safety, I guess.
That would be about right, as he gets the glitch and he's gonna go fight the Game Boy.
It almost looked like he wasn't planning on doing it until he got into that room, because it looked like he was getting ready to die. He had almost no health left. He even went in that room and started taking some damage, and then was like, hey, wait a minute, how about if I farm some of these guys and stay alive?
Yep. So the difference between taking the death and not taking the death is, I would say about 8 seconds for the red guy to kill you, give or take.
Maybe. No, I mean, because either way, you got to do the spinning around and falling over, and then the little, rest 2 or whatever thing. I think it's only about 3 or 4 seconds for that red thing to bring your health all the way down. You think it may
I
be
never
more than
actually
that?
timed it, so maybe. So.
But aside from that, welcome to Area 6, everybody. As we've already mentioned, this is the requisite ice area, which we are pretty sure that back then when games were being developed, if you wanted Nintendo to license your game, you just had to give it an ice area, because I'm pretty sure every game from Nintendo had an ice area back then.
I can't dispute this. I can't think of any. What about you, Fiesel?
I don't know.
And Fiesel, I'm pretty sure Fiesel's played more Nintendo games than you or I have.
Some ice level games in my life, Joe. Absolutely.
Yep.
So
I don't know. I remember those old cartridges that had the 1 in 100 video game ones. But go ahead. Sorry, I cut you off, Fiesel.
Oh, that's okay. I was just going to point out that Son of Orpheus is ahead of Kongcakes, but not so far enough ahead that he isn't going to need to do any of the Area 7 skips. I mean, he has to at least do the second one. Really, at this point in the game, is where you start to really pay attention to how far you are relative to your opponent. If there's any question in your mind about what skips you're going to do in Area 7.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So, some of our more seasoned players will go for both skips regardless. I'm talking about you, Scavenger. But if you're comfortable with the skips and you practice them, they're worth going for. Especially seeing that Son has the game advantage right now. He's going to go for the safe worm jump.
Yeah.
Out.
The worm's getting him all kinds of trouble, though.
Yep. Right.
Yep.
Yeah, so trying to snipe those little caterpillars is a little tricky, and if you miss, the stun lock from the caterpillars actually could be worse than if you had just done the leap of faith that you were trying to avoid in the first place.
Yep. I do want to point out, though, that in one of the vertical climbing rooms, not one with the blocks, just one of the vertical climbing rooms earlier, Kongcakes was having a little bit of trouble as he kept bonking his head on one of the jumps.
Yep. Speaking of bonking your head, Son with a very clean room this time, the ice block room.
Mm-hmm.
So he will continue through this, and right there, I don't think we ever mentioned it. Yep, the one time we use homing missile.
It's at the point that we used to use it more.
Yeah, well, in the room he's in now, we used to use it, but it caused so much lag.
Yeah.
So right here, you would shoot the homing missiles. It would kill all 4 of the enemies, but you would lose quite a bit of time just trying to move through as the missiles actually lag up the screen. Once again, the more that's on the screen, the more the game lags. I'm not even convinced that it's not right. It's just we haven't yet found a good way to do it that's going to give us less lag than, more time saved than lost. I think there may be some potential for that, but I'm at this point thinking that there's no reason to get the homing missiles anymore. Because all it does, if you're using it just that one time, all it does is let you avoid taking damage from one caterpillar. And that slowdown from that caterpillar, I don't think makes up for the time it takes you to move over two pips to the left in your menu to select them. Well, do you actually lose any time switching to it if you're just doing the pips while you're doing the pauses? Yes. I mean, even if you're the tasks, you're still probably losing a frame, but for us humans, it's going to be significantly more than that. Going back to the pausing through doors, while the door transition is going on, you can actually lose a little time if you're not doing it optimally. So you could be doing it late and losing some more frames. And while we're talking about that, pausing, Mrs. Grabby is catching a grenade to the face.
Yep, well and doesn't zombie this time, so Orpheus has to be happy with that, not having to deal with crazy zombie angry Mrs. Grabby.
Yeah, I think he's on his last life. Yeah, that
Yes,
was,
he was.
good.
That was a very smooth exit from Area 6 into Area 5, and now we're going to be here in Area 5 to Area 4. Now, you're going to see 2 intentional deaths here in Area 5. Simple reason, it's faster, because you have this nice large ledge to basically go and suicide yourself on, which is great. Then we're going to get back to Area 4. We did door wrap, and there's a little ladder, and that's all we have to kill ourselves on is the really, really tiny little ladder. Thanks, game.
He goes
Thanks
for,
a lot.
he doesn't go for the ejector seat glitch. So what you can do is while you're in the tank, you press select to jump out of the tank. If you press select and jump on the same frame, I believe it is, you will jump higher and take an additional 2 damage. It's a small optimization, but it's nice that you don't have to jump off the ladder 1 extra time. Uh-oh.
I do want to point out here, over on Kongcakes' side, approaching this boss from the bottom, it's actually safer to approach from the left-hand side, as you saw SonOfOrpheus do. Approaching from the bottom basically means if you miss the grenade pause, that's basically going to trigger the boss to fire all kinds of nasty, nasty projectiles at you. Thankfully for Kongcakes, he did come in with an extra life, so he was able to take the death there and still be able to come through and not have to go all the way back through Area 6.
So I would say Kong is about 45 seconds to a minute behind. So I'm enough of a buffer, but not a comfortable enough buffer that Son cannot get away with doing the Area 7 skip, the second Area 7
skip. Yep.
Yep. He's not going for, well, let me not say that because he caught me with the okie doke the first time, but indications
I do want to point out,
put out there.
Interrupt you, but Kongcakes forgot to do his Area 5 death, I believe. I'm not sure. Yes, he forgot to do his Area 5 death, so he had to go back and do that. So if you want to point that out, that is going to cost him quite a bit of time.
Yeah, he has to go back, take the deaths, but with getting the hover, it's an indication that he actually intends to go through at least the first section of Area 7.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Absolutely. And at this point, though, with such a large buffer lead, one that just actually increased because of Kongcakes bringing to his deaths, there's really no need to do that first skip because that's actually the more dangerous of the two, and there's really no need to risk the soft lock if you don't have to. As you mentioned, there are some players who do it all the time, and that to me falls into the category of doing what you know. So if you're constantly doing both skips, it makes zero sense really to not do both of them if that's what you're comfortable with, because a lot of playing a speed game comes down to muscle memory. And if it's something that you know you've done consistently, why would you stop yourself from doing it when you're so used to doing it? It makes very little sense.
It's one of those things because the muscle memory of a speedrunner is we're gonna go for the optimal strats 99% of the time once we learn them, because once we have a good PB with the optimal strats, there's no reason for us not to do the optimal strats. Kongcakes, just putting it out there real quick, falling into the water, he'll have to jump back and go around. But in a race environment, the optimal strats might not be the best strats for you to save a bunch of time. Some of the strats may cost you a lot more time if you actually mess them up, because God knows not all of these strats are guaranteed.
Right, and that to me begs the question of adjusting your play based on the fact that you're in a race or keeping what you know. And that's a debate that we can have, basically through the rest of this race and come across with 3-4. You can ask 5 different people and get 5 different answers. So it's one of those things where it's going to come down on a player-by-player basis how they feel about doing it.
Right, because some of the lower time players, like Scav, Sun, and Melis, for that matter, may opt not to do the strats because they know that the beginning of the game is actually a little bit more clean than most players. Whereas someone like me or Kongcakes, for that matter, might start going for the more dangerous strats to make up that time, the timing difference.
Yeah, it is a very, very interesting question. It's also on the same vein of, do you keep the stream up going so you know where your opponent is? And by doing so, if you know where they are, does that affect how you play? Speaking of where you're knowing your opponent is affecting how you play, SonOfOrpheus is opting to go for the second Area 7 skip here. We know he did a 3-wrap last time. It looks like he's going for a 3-wrap again here. And let's take a look, see how he getting the first drop off of the sniper. In the second drop, no problem. Now let's see how this third one works here. We're going to take the drop here. Let's see. Boom. Wall transition. Pause. In the room. In. Easy every time.
Great. I don't know if you mentioned this, but the reason why we crouch as we go off those ledges is because it actually lowers Jason's hitbox enough that the game doesn't think that you fell far enough to take damage.
Speaking of falling, not to interrupt you there, but Orpheus did just take another death there. Yeah. Thankfully, he had one to spare.
Yeah, if he had done the first Area 7 skip, he would not have had that extra life to take that death. He would have ended up back at the beginning of Area 7. Luckily, he decided not to go for the beginning skip, so...
he's worrying me. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So with that lava skip, there's one place you can be where they shoot the pellet and you could just cross right over. Unfortunately, he was a little bit far to the left. But he got through, easy peasy, and now we're on Frozen Fred? No, not Frozen
Solar
Fred.
Fred.
Frozen Capulus.
Yeah.
Solar Fred, there it is.
Solar Fred. Now, we don't see the regular Fred because that's the Area 4 boss. So, wait, you said a pallet swap? Yeah, because we skipped the Area 4 boss. And the only reason we can skip the Area 4 boss in this game is because the item it drops is the key, and we just use the door wrap to skip through the key, not a problem. So Solar Fred, if you're taking a nice bit of heartburn or grenade to the mouth, he's going to drop the Wall 2 upgrade for us, and we're going to be on our way. Meanwhile, you do see Kongcakes now starting his version of the Area 7 skip over, not quite hitting the door wrap, and he's going to transition to the other side. There's the first wrap, though. Now we're on it.
Yep. The door wraps start coming down to muscle memory. Also, I don't know if we went over this, but the difference between the 3-wrap and the 4-wrap. With the 4-wrap, you end up going over a little bit more. Thus, you don't, when you make the transition between the room and the boss room, you don't actually need to take the extra jump. All you have to do is pause. It's debatably a little safer, but with the 3-wrap, once you come down to this point where Kongcakes is, you drop, you hit a little wall, and then you jump up, and then you pause.
Yep, that was actually a very smooth 4-wrap there after the initial missing of the first wrap. That was actually a really, really smooth 7 skip there from Kongcakes.
Yep, and what you're seeing Kongcakes do now, he's taking extra damage to be safe, because you can actually get over those lava pits just taking 1 damage from each of these enemies like you just saw him do there.
So meanwhile, pointing out over on SonOfOrpheus' side, we are at the point where we have to go on the ceiling. Now, I do want to point out, if there is a crazy spawn that happens, there is the potential of being knocked off the ceiling. If that happens, we have to go all the way back to the beginning, because there is no good way to get on the ceiling. And those horizontal spikes you see right there, or those vertical spikes that are facing out, those are the only time you're going to see those in the game. And that is because they wanted you to have a way where you had to go from the beginning of the room on the ceiling and not just climb up there. Nice job, game. Nice job.
Kongcakes there, you heard that high-pitched noise while that grenade pause was happening. That happens because the grenade is actually colliding with one of the invulnerable parts with the frog, so that's part of the invulnerability noise. And that actually can mask the sound that you're listening for. It makes it much harder to hear the audio cue for unpausing. So we actually try to move down maybe a few pixels lower than where he was actually standing, just so that Jason is bumping into the frog's butt. You want to bump the frog's butt, and that's how you know that you're actually going to be far enough down that you won't get that sound when you're trying to do the grenade pause. Also, spikes.
Not to interrupt you, but SonOfOrpheus, beautiful spike jump right there. Yeah,
that was great.
Yep. That's exactly what I was going to say too.
Sorry, Tucker, but yeah, that's tough because you are going to trigger the wall 2 by accident. Oh, Orpheus dies to the spikes. But yeah, that's
all right. That was an early death, so he should be able to get through the hellway easy peasy lemon squeezy here. Should. Okay.
Right, and the challenge there, as well as in that other spike pit room, is that Wall 2 will activate as soon as your tank's front wheel touches the edge of a cliff. It'll push you down to the wall of the cliff, which knocks you into the spikes in this level. They do it intentionally to make Wall 2 troll you.
Right. Just to pointed out, the wall 1 that lets you climb vertical walls will not activate when you're coming off the edge of a platform or anything of that nature. So once you get the wall 2 and it starts taking you down platforms and around, your timing on your jumps have to change a little bit. You jump a little bit earlier so you don't actually get clipped on some of these downward, cliffs.
Yep. Yeah, it's really just fighting against the wall too. That's the trick in those 2 rooms we were talking about. And Kongcakes there got a hover drop. He wants hover so that he doesn't have to do that spike jump that we just saw Orpheus pull off so beautifully there. He actually got a hover so he can just fly right over it. He doesn't need to worry about any of that.
Right. Normally that hover, or not that hover, but the spike jump wouldn't be so bad if we didn't have wall 2.
Yep. So meanwhile, you see SonOfOrpheus making his way to the final boss gauntlet here. Let's take a look and see how the plutonium boss goes. Looking like actually a very, very good one here. Not seeing any of those little iron balls you see the plutonium boss normally spawn. There's the first one. That's actually a really good pattern on those balls in general. Only getting 2 of them to spawn. That's a very, very strong plutonium boss fight there from SonOfOrpheus.
Yep.
And
very,
we're
very
going to see
clean. He's going to go for the bottom right strategy again.
The safer strat.
Quote unquote safer strat.
Safer sometimes. It's safe when it works.
So what he does here, so what he does here is he puts the boss in such a position that he's not going to move down, the whip's not going to hit him, and all he's going to have to do is mash grenades, eat all these grenades, and he explodes.
Meanwhile, I do want to point out Kongcakes just taking a death there in the Hellway. So both runners taking a death in the Hellway.
Yeah, that's a hard one. You got to practice this room a lot. This is probably the room that you'll see most Blaster Master players practicing if they're not doing Area 7 skips. They'll be doing this.
Yep. And even after you practice it all that time, you're still not comfortable with it. But Kongcakes taking his time through this area, he's kind of low on life. But okay, he manages to get through this, gets a little bit of extra life, and this should be enough of a buffer for him to get through this room.
Right, he can take you can take 2 damage from hitting those skulls, so you got to be a little bit careful here. But fortunately, there's a lot of drops in this room, or a lot of drop potential in this room.
Just as a note, it looks like Orpheus finished with a 32 flat.
Yep,
pretty good, pretty good.
Yep. It is really, really good.
Yeah, the top players seem to be getting like sub 32 in these races. You know, sub 31 in some cases. Well, barely sub 31, not even by much, but sub 32 is what all the top tier players seem to have been getting here. And Orpheus managed to, to basically hit right on that boundary, so we'll count it for him.
Yep.
We'll count that as a top tier time.
Sounds good. And we are going to be now making our way into the final 2 boss fights here over on Kongcakes' side of things. So he had a very, very, very strong plutonium boss fight in the first race here. Let's see if we can duplicate that here in the second one.
Yep. Should everything go all right? Wait, bouncing the grenades.
Yeah, having a little trouble with his positioning.
Yeah,
yep.
But he should be all right now.
I'm worried about his health looking good. Whew.
The iron potatoes didn't put him out of his misery. So I'm guessing he's going to end up with a 34-30?
That sounds about right.
A little bit faster. 34-25 maybe.
So now we're going to go back to the go in the corner and think about what you've done strats.
Yep. This final boss comes down to preference, whichever one you want to do. Whether you want to flashing pants, you want to put it in the corner, or if you want to do the Shining Dragoon method and glitch the boss out.
Yeah, basically, what that basically means is if you remember the glitch that you saw on Hard Shell in Area 5, meanwhile Kongcakes finishing with a 34-23, a very, very respectable time, and only 7 seconds away from his PB. His PB, according to what I'm seeing here, is a 34-15, so that's only 7 seconds away. That's a very strong time, especially in a race. Anyway, back to the glitch there. The glitch we do in Area 5 can also be done here in Area 8 for the final boss.
Correct. It looks like Dragoon's giving Orpheus a little bit of grief because he could have had well under a 32 if he had just done the Area 7 skip, because he had the RNGesus hover drop.
Yep, absolutely. But that is going to be it for this Blaster Master race tonight. As we said, it is a best 2 out of 3, and we have had 2 wins. So that's going to be it here. Diesel, I do want to ask, is there any more races here tonight over on Speed Gaming?
Yes, we do. We have a double Super Metroid race, a dual Super Metroid race about to start up between Insane Firebat and Cintiq, and Daddy P. Not 3D versus Shmemin.
All right. So if you guys are interested in anything to do with the Super Metroid tournament, you can go ahead and click the link I just posted in chat. For all the brackets, you can go to challenge.com/SMNE 2016, and you can click that bottom link for the Google Doc. They'll have the list of matchups and times. In addition to that, if you are interested in any of the Blaster Master tournament stuff, you can go right here to challenge.com/blastermaster and see the brackets there. In addition, that bottom link is also going to be the schedule. Do you want to mention one other tournament here that Speed Gaming is running? We do have the Link to the Past tournament. That is also be having races here projected on Speed Gaming. So if you're interested in that, you can go to challenge.com/ALTTPNMG and get the information on that.
Are we not having any post-match interviews tonight?
Orpheus disappeared from the IRC, so I don't know if he's going to be in.
Okay.
But we can, if Kong's around, he could jump in here while I'm setting up for the next match here.
Mm-hmm.
I will check for him real quick.
This is also a chance, if there are any questions by anybody in chat that you want to answer, go ahead and ask them now. If it's related to Blaster Master, we'll do our best to answer them. And it looks like we're actually going to get both of them in here because Orpheus is in chat, in the Speed Gaming chat, asking about it. So it looks like we're going to get both SonOfOrpheus and Kongcakes into this call in a minute here. So we'll have some interviews for them, or some post-race interviews with both of the racers. So stay tuned. We'll be with that momentarily.
It looks like we have Kongcakes in the call now.
How you doing? Oh, he's out.
Nope, we lost him.
It's because TGE was here. He said, "Uh-oh, gotta hide."
I don't blame him. I'd run away from me too.
Hey, am I back?
You're back.
You're back.
Hey, all right, cool.
So it looked like that was actually you were doing really, really well in the first race.
Yeah, I had a decent one on the first race.
Yep, and then you struggled a little bit with the hover farm in the second race.
Yeah,
So-
I went to the first part. On the first race, when I stood at the first part, there was just nobody coming by. So I was like, all right, let me go move over a little bit and we'll get some more. So in the second one, I went there and I stopped for a second. I didn't see anybody. And I was like, we're going to get no hover guys here again. So let me move down a little bit, try and see if I can, shake it up and get some people on.
Right. So just to follow up on that, we noticed that you weren't taking the immediate death after the hover farm. Is that to be safe for the crab boss?
Yeah, because I mess up the crab, 1 out of every 4 times usually, or 5 times. So I didn't want to choke it and then not be able to have to go all the way through Area 5 because I hate Area 5. Break my thumb trying to float up and down. Ugh.
Right, because just if the viewers don't know, swimming in this game is quite the pain. It's not very manageable, so to speak.
It feels like it's fighting against you a little bit,
Right, because you're constantly sinking, you're constantly having to press up to adjust yourself, and you can't swim exactly straight. So it's akin to actually like Mario Brothers 3, but instead of pushing the jump button to keep yourself floating, you're pressing up.
Right. That one was pretty close to my I think if I wouldn't have messed up the first part of the final boss, I think I might have PB'd actually, because my race PB is tied with my actual PB. So I think I would have had a decent chance if I wouldn't have messed up the positioning on that first part of the boss, the final boss.
Right, you were about 10 seconds off your PB?
Yeah.
According to what I saw.
Yeah, 7.5. Yeah, I think it's like 34:15. I think something like that.
Yep.
That's the good one. I gotta start grinding out some more.
It was very good. It was a very good race and a very respectable time for the race. Also, just as another follow-up question, in Area 7, what were you thinking, or what was your thought process when you messed up the Area 7 skip, the second Area 7 skip?
When I did it at first, I was like, oh, okay, I died. And as I'm respawning, I thought to myself, oh, wait, I'm going to fall, and I fell and died. So I was like, all right, hold right, get back in the tank. We're just going to be pretty safe and get through the rest of this. But I remembered that I would fall and die, because I've done that before, when I respawned, but I thought of it just a split second too late.
Right. One of those uh-oh moments.
Yeah, it's like, because, as soon as I fell off and died, I kind of like, put my head back, rolled my eyes a little bit, and then before I could even remember, that I was going to fall, I was already dead for the next life.
Huh. Son's having some problems getting into the Discord chat. Here? Yeah, no, I think I covered all the questions I had for your race. Any feelings about how the race went? How you feel about any further racing, or going to continue grinding the game?
Yeah, I'm probably going to start it again pretty soon. This was actually the first race, because I raced Mel and Infested Reach before, and in at least one of the 3 games, those both went 3 games, and in one of those 3 games, something terrible happened. I walked past the crab, and then he didn't drop hover, so I had to go, or dive, so I had to go all the way back through there again. I game overed on Area 7 in one of the races, so this was the first time I didn't have any super huge screw-ups, so it felt pretty good to be, decently consistent with my time.
That's good. Second. Sorry about this. Did you have any other questions for us?
No, I think so. Hey, thank you all, though, for sure, for the commentary and whatnot. It's awesome seeing you all, spit some good knowledge about the game while we're playing, and trying to not look too bad while you guys are talking about us.
Come on now. You didn't die on the Area 2, or not 2, Area 3 boss like I did, so I mean that's already an improvement.
I thought it was going to be close in that second one. I started losing control of the blocks.
Well, in I don't know if you had the channel open for Orpheus, but he managed to get some of the best hover RNG we have ever seen.
Yeah, I had the restream going on my phone while I was playing, so I could just hear it a little bit. And I heard that, and I was like, "All right, cool. Maybe I'll get a good hover too."
Nope.
Exactly.
Not happening.
If only these things worked out that way.
Right. Yeah, I was like, all right, I can't wait. He got a good hover. I'm gonna get a good hover, and I'm just sitting there waiting for something to fly by.
And yeah, RNGesus take the wheel.
I'm done. I don't got it anymore.
Garbaggio, get out of here. We need RNGesus to take the wheel.
Who invited Carbaggio?
I don't know, but we got SonOfOrpheus in the call now.
My timing on that was really bad.
Oh, man. Can you hear us, son? Are you there? Buffering.
Loading.
What was the program? Real time? Was that the program back in the day? Yeah, the buffering.
Real media clips.
Yeah. Man.
Anyway, can you hear us, son?
Sounds like not.
Wait, I see some activity. Huh. Well, while we try and get that sorted out, it looks like Fiesel has the stream up for.
Well, we still don't have everyone joined in the race channel, so we're not like waiting on us to finish yet.
I'm pretty excited to watch this 4-way Super Metroid race. This is gonna be awesome. I
It
love
really
watching
is.
Super Metroid.
And I do just want to take this time real quick while we're waiting to.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, we can hear you.
There he is.
Hey,
There
there
we
he
go.
is.
Sorry about that audio settings. I am a complete noob with Discord. Sorry, guys.
Not a problem. We understand. So first things first. I was told to ask you a question here, and I need to ask this question. I was told you would know who it's from. So I'm supposed to ask you, how does it feel to always get God tier hover RNG?
I believe that was from Substyly, and
Yep.
yes, that hover farm was legit like a 1 second gold, like on all of my splits. I've never had a hover farm like that.
Yeah, that was one of the best I've seen.
That was crazy good.
Ridiculous. Yeah,
But just to point out that that would have been perfect RNG had you not missed that first one.
I know. I know. It could have been better. Got to do it again, right?
Right. It's not perfect. Do it again.
Right.
Yep. Rip.
Reset.
But after getting that, we saw that you didn't do the Area 7 skip, or the first Area 7 skip. Was that just for the race, or
Right,
were you
yeah.
not even thinking about PB at the time?
No, I wasn't thinking about PB. I was on close to a PB pace, but I mean, in the middle of a race, I'm not going to worry about that. I just want to make sure that I get everything safely done, you know? Plus, like I was keeping an eye on it, and I knew that I was a lot ahead, so I didn't want to jeopardize that for doing a skip that, you know, could have some danger to it. I figured I could afford not doing the skip and make it safer.
All right, that's pretty understandable. Was there anything about the race that you felt that you could have improved? That you felt?
Yeah, like all over. I had some really bad movement. Especially, I want to say it was area 2 of the first race. I was all over the place. Like I had all kinds of little minor problems that add up. So, I like the second race was really only PB pace because of that hover RNG. Like I would have been probably 10 or 15 seconds behind otherwise. So yeah, I mean, there's always stuff you can improve.
So, with I believe there was another. Area 6.
Yeah,
that was a fun area. You were going for the safe strat, or quote unquote safe strat on that. Any particular reason why?
Because I always fail when I try to do the leap of faith. Like it's probably 75% of the time I fall when I do that. So, and you know, then like that's only like during a run. Like then I'll reset it and load a state on the EverDrive, and then you know hit it 9 times out of 10. But so I know it's in my head, but I never hit it when I need to, so I just don't even try. And then, you know, I did have a little bit of a scare. I think the first race, the caterpillars almost bounced me. But
we were all reacting here. We're sitting there like, I'm nervous for you.
I've gotten pretty good at dealing with that because I don't do the leap of faith. Like I've spent a lot of time trying to deal with not getting bounced, and most of the time I can manage it. But you know, every now and then they get me.
Actually, the worrisome part that we had was in Area 8, where you had no life going through the spikes before the Hell Room.
Oh yeah. that was entirely. I knew I had lives to spare, so I just like, well, I'm either gonna dive here and lose a few seconds falling and then blowing up, or I'll make it, and I made it. So hey, whatever.
Yeah, congratulations on your win. It was a very clean race.
Thank
you. Good
you.
work from the both of you. Actually, we were thoroughly entertained.
Very much so.
Yeah, glad to hear.
Congrats to you again on the race, dude.
Oh yeah, thanks. GG Kongcakes.
Yes, sir.
So, I believe that's it from us. Are we good to go with the Metroid, Fiesel?
Yeah, we're still waiting. One of the players had to restart the router, and they haven't quite come back up yet. But let's at least get the commentary team in for the next race so they can start talking about this.
All right.
Okay,
so in that case, I will give us our outro here. So on behalf of everybody here at Speed Gaming, I do want to thank both SonOfOrpheus and Kongcakes for an excellent race. And for my co-commentators, Scratch Dragon and Fiesel, I am the Green Leaf Effect, reminding everybody to keep it whimsical.
All right.